Linux Out Loud is firing up our mics, connecting those headphones as we prepare to get rowdy. I'm Wendy, and I'm joined with one fellow co-host this week, Bill. Yes, that's right. Matt and Nate could not make it this week. Who knows what in the world they're up to, but I think Bill might have an idea. We'll get to that a little bit later. We are right now two friends sitting around a virtual table talking Linux, open source, tech, gaming, and everything in between. We keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it. This week, we're spouting off about some of the new hardware we've picked and maybe a few other things. Let's get into episode 95. Well, welcome, Bill. It's been a little while since we've had you on the show, and even though we didn't plan on it being just the two of us, it's kind of how it worked out this week.
No complaints. Happy to be here, as always. From what I understand, the last message that I received from Matt was that he just got home from Paris because he was Tom Cruise's backup for his jump out of the Stade de France. During the closing ceremonies of the Olympics.
So I knew he was going on hikes, but I didn't know he was jumping out of planes. So that's an interesting one. I'll have to ask him how that went. I think Nate got bogged down by some Pokemon. It's just kind of a whole Pokemon doggy pile. Maybe he'll get out of it and maybe he won't. We could see him during the show.
There's an alternative universe where all the Pokemons have to catch Nate. Just like normally we have to catch all the Pokemon, there's an alternative reality where they actually have to go and find Nate.
Yeah,
so I think that's what happened to him. I think they found him, and what they do with him we'll find out on a later episode. I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Absolutely. So it's summertime. Summertime is actually coming to an end. How has your summer been?
Summer's been very good to me. Summertime is usually very busy for us at work. As you know, I handle a lot of IT for schools, and that is our peak season. But when I'm not doing stuff for schools, you can probably find me at the local lake in front of a grill with lots of friends and lots of food. Nice. And now that the humidity is dropping and it hasn't been raining buckets in New England, I've finally been able to get out and grill outside in the sunshine and not in the rain.
So I was editing Pseudo Show, sorry, I'm saying it wrong, 70 today, and you all will get this later this month, but you had mentioned the fact that 4th of July was a downpour and you got a shower while cooking.
That's exactly what happened. So let's talk about that day for a second. Neil had just come back from traveling throughout Europe doing a whole bunch of conferences, and we timed it that he would just come and hang out for the night and we would go to the lake and we would start cooking.
Nice.
If you've ever been to New England, you learn that the weather changes every 5 minutes. And
Idaho is pretty similar that way.
Pretty similar, and this is exactly what happened. So I got everything in the car. We're cooking for about 9-10 people. Got everything in the car. Even brought an extra grill, all my charcoal, all my cooking materials, everything that I need. Something that I do quite often. And I had just as soon taken the charcoal out of the chimney and dumped it into the grill when the first raindrop hit. And I thought, okay, I can survive this. This isn't going to be that bad. What ended up happening was that I ended up swimming without having set foot in the lake. So everybody was under this nice tent, eating and drinking and making merry, while I was the child in the window outside the house looking in saying, please take me out of the drowning rain.
Oh, no.
But nonetheless, we got all the food off of the grill in time to eat it. Everything came out delicious. We all went home a while afterwards. We took a little stop at a friend's house, had some dessert, laughed about the day, and then went home. So it was a smashing success, regardless of the deluge that happened.
And the new dog training, I know last time you were on, you talked about Grace and how she was a new member of the household. How's that going?
So Grace's training is going well. She is a very lively 2-year-old dog, and as such, she has a ton of energy. and a ton of momentum when she runs into something. But what we've been working on with her is teaching her to be nice to her canine siblings and how to do simple things like staying in place for a while. So we can get her all the way to the farthest point of the backyard and then call her. She will come and grab her rope and have fun with it. So she's a very smart dog. She adapts well to instruction. It's just a matter of finding constructive ways to expend her energy.
I understand that. I very much understand that. My youngest child is very similar to that.
I'm learning that from other friends that have children, that the four-legged and the two-legged ones are kind of similar in terms of...
They have some similarities when they're really young. Just before I found out I was pregnant with him, my husband's cousin and his wife had some miniature Australian Shepherds, and I wanted one really bad, but I didn't want a baby and a puppy at the same time because that's way too much work, at least for me. And so that's kind of how it got announced to the family that we were expecting number 4. Was we were sitting around the table eating some dinner, and she's like, "Hey, we're going to have some puppies soon. Do you want one?" And I'm like, "Well, actually not so much." And they haven't had a batch of puppies since. So.
Well, Grace was very fond of watching the Olympics. She was absolutely fascinated by diving and gymnastics.
Oh.
So we think we may have to build a gymnastics course in the backyard. And there's a pool next door. I'm sure we can teach her how to jump in.
Yeah.
I don't know if the neighbors will like that, so we'll just have to wait until they're not home to do that.
I've seen the dogs that do the jumps and run through the different courses and stuff. So maybe that's up her alley. Get some energy out that way.
She could definitely do agility training. Wendy, I understand that you've taken the summer to collect some new gadgets. I'm kind of interested to hear about what you've picked up along the way.
We've recently added some additional hardware to our house. 2 different pieces of hardware. Well, one I'll talk about and one I won't, that are related to school functions. But this one is a laser engraver and cutter. We've got the Falcon 2 22 watt, and I absolutely love it so far. It's my oldest daughter who has done the most with it at this point. She's made a couple race cars out of wood using this. So it cuts it in several different layers, and then you put it together and paint it. So she's had a lot of fun with that. We're actually helping out with the county fair this year, and they will design buttons. So this isn't our button. This is a different team's button, but they are designing specific buttons for the STEM day at the county fair, and they wanted a ribbon behind it. And this ribbon was a test cut, but also using the laser cutter today. So I'm kind of happy that it worked and it didn't burn down the garage. So that's pretty awesome. I look forward to the different things that we can do with this. I know that last year they had aluminum panels on their robot, and that was cut with a water jet by a local business, but we ended up using stickers on the robot to show who our different sponsors are. And the sponsors are very, very important to us. They're what keep the team going. They're what make it so they got to go to Worlds again this year. So we want to make sure that our sponsors are seen not only on our team uniforms, our team shirts, but also on the robot as well. So they resorted to stickers last year to make sure that all of the sponsors were on the robot. But we were talking this coming year with this laser engraver, we could actually engrave the sponsors into the side panels on the robot. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. We've got some different projects coming out with it. I'll drop a link down below as to exactly what that looks like. We've been going through projects trying to figure out what all we can do with it, but I know it'll definitely be used for robotics. It's already been used for arts related stuff. You know, like I said, cutting ribbons to go on things. So who knows what all we'll come up with.
As long as they're not like using their hands to test whether the laser's working or not, I suppose all is well.
Yeah, no, not so much. We are noticing that especially with the wood related stuff, it is putting a lot of smoke out. And one of the nice things about this laser is it does have what they call an air assist. So it is blowing air on it to help A, cool down whatever it's cutting, and B, kind of push the smoke away so that the laser can refocus on where it needs to be as it's making its cuts. So it does better all that way, but it does fill the garage with some smoke right now. I would like to get a cover for it so that you don't have to wear the big old green glasses every time it's fired on. My husband also had some welding glasses that were handy. So right now we've got 2 pairs of green glasses. So if you're out there getting it started, 2 people can be around it at once. But just some additional safety features. And like I said, it's in the garage. We live in Idaho. It's pretty dusty. So just trying to keep that whole work surface cleaner would be good to get it covered. I'm looking at some different ones. Haven't found one that I've fallen in love with yet. Though with the laser cutter that can cut acrylic, maybe we just build our own.
That's what I was going to say. Between the printing that you do and now the cutting you'll be able to do, let me tie in a little bit of SB Home and Home Assistant into that.
Ooh.
And now you could probably tell how dusty it is in your garage when you're working. And it can send you a push notification saying, hey, Wendy, the dust level has exceeded an allowable threshold. You might want to do something about this.
Oh, God. Yes. The thing is, it would always be that way. It would constantly be overloaded with dust because everything in the house kind of is. It's one of those things that I struggle to keep up with. I know my computer is due for a cleaning in again, and that's just part of living in a very dry environment. It's been a very hot summer. It's been a very dry summer. So it's even more dusty this time of year. And I guess we're doing so good on time that I have to talk about the other new toy, and it's a printer. That's right. We've added another printer. So I've got a laser printer, an inkjet printer, a sublimation printer, and now we're getting a DTF printer. Well, kind of getting a DTF printer. So this is an EcoTank Photo ET8550. And one reason that you can take this one and turn it into a DTF printer, and kind of shorthand, DTF means direct to film. So you will print on a special film, you put your glue on it, heat treat it, and then that can be transferred to fabrics. This shirt was probably done by, I can't remember what it's called right now, screen printing, but the back of our team shirts this year, this is all done with DTF. So it leaves it super, super crisp, and it can print white. And with the EcoTank Photo, it is made to have a gray. So when you're printing pictures, they're a lot cleaner. They're a lot nicer. You get some better color accuracy. And in this case, you can modify that, removing a roller, using some different software in order to turn it into a DTF printer. So we've got lots of things in mind for that one as well. This one is nice because it can print 13 by 19, whereas my sublimation printer right now can only do a max of legal paper. So what? That's 8.5 by 14.
Correct.
Yeah. So
you know what the best part about that printer is?
What?
I don't have to listen to Nate and Matt whine about it.
That's right. You don't. Oh, I still have a 3D printer. So, I mean, all those printers added
That's
up.
a
There's
wonderful
lots of printers.
thing. I don't find any fault with that.
Well, the thing is, I'm not done. I would like a second of these ET8550s because it is a wider format and it does print better. We could do our own posters with it. You know, also thinking a robotics team. My daughter does a lot of art, and it would be nice for her to be able to print larger images and to have a high quality printer at home for pictures. So it is on the wish list to get a second photo printer. So by the time I'm done, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you're including the 3D printer. And I would love to have another 3D printer. The problem is I've got to find room for all of this stuff.
So if I were to take a piece of paper
Mm-hmm.
and feed it through a dot matrix printer and print stuff with it, then crumple it into a ball or make origami. Does that constitute a 3D printer? I feel like that solves multiple things at the same time where I've made something 3D, I've printed. No, maybe that's not how that works.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite how that works. Yeah, that's not quite how that works.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
The 3D printer has been giving me fits. I put those bearings on for the Z-axis screws, and I've been having issues like with this horrible banding. And I wasn't exactly sure why, because I figured stabilizing my Z-axis would have made everything better, and it's actually seemed to have made my print quality worse. Yes, it's not screeching anymore when my bed drops all the way down at the end of a print. But if it hadn't been mountains that I was printing repeatedly for the last little while, that Z-axis issue would have ruined print. So I've got to take those back off, kind of do some reworking on it. Kind of a bummer. But, you know, I've plain decided that if I say my 3D printer is working fine, it's going down. So you will no longer hear me say my printer is running wonderfully, because last time I said that, it wasn't running so fine.
Well, we have a 3D printer at the office now, courtesy of one of the guys that works with us. And we decided that we would start printing little mini cases for SB32 boards or other sensors that we want to make. And this kind of started a bit by accident, and it turned into something much more than I thought it would. It started off by taking 2 Dell Venue tablets that were getting ready to be junked. We installed Linux on them, and then we turned them into Home Assistant kiosks. And this way we could see who's at the door, or someone left a window open, and just starting to mess a little bit with different things. And then we had one customer come in that is into gadgets, and we said, "Oh, hey, check this out." And the first words out of his mouth were, "When are you going to install this in our building?" Now, because of certain regulations, they cannot leverage certain cloud services. It's against their compliance regulations, basically.
Okay.
So we told them this is all self-contained. It's on a little box or a virtual machine we can park on your network, and then we can set you up with external access, and you can have at it. And that became so much more than simple sensors. It became a smart button to send a tone out across the PA speaker that lunch has arrived. Just little things like that we've started to come across. And so not only that, we're building our own little cases for these things. And the next thing we want to get is a laser engraver so that we can put our company logo on that. I will say that having a 3D printer in the office does have some slight disadvantages. It turns into fun pranks. When someone goes away on vacation, they find little miniature items on their desk or in their office they weren't necessarily expecting. So it becomes a little bit of a scavenger hunt. So I've learned to appreciate what being a creative person is in 2024. It's more than just drawing. It's more than just wood carving. We've evolved it into something that can create tools that people use every day in their lives and appreciate that they wouldn't have been able to before.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can add the logo inside your CAD file. I'm not exactly sure which CAD you're using in order to do that, but I think the laser engrave might be a little bit cleaner when it's done.
I don't know what my tech is using right now, but I know he's messed with LibreCAD a bit. So we're going to try to leverage as much open source into the process from start to finish. It's one thing to finish open source and design a product that's using open source, but we want to extend that to the beginning stages and design it from top to bottom with all open source software. One of the devices that we actually built was a teeny tiny little, maybe 2" by 2" LCD screen that tells us the temperature of the printer, the temperature inside the enclosure, and a little button that allows us to turn the printer off if something goes wrong with it and any of us need to restart it. So it's got a little set of instructions on another little LCD screen above it, which we're going to convert to e-ink. And it says, if thou printer stops printing, push the button until the printer stops moving. And then wait
Very
and
nice.
try again. Yeah, so that's been a bit of our adventures into printing and creating.
I know I've never really played with Octoprint, but it's one of Nate's favorites. I'm currently running Fluid, like I've talked about, which is also an open source project. I haven't played with LibreCAD. I'm kind of curious how that's working, how your employee is enjoying that. Does it have the features that he likes, that he needs? Right now, we've been using Onshape. And some of that has to do with the educational stuff. It has stuff on how to build a robot in CAD, which is really pretty nice. But I would love it if we could have some of the same features in an open source CAD platform. So I'm kind of interested to check that one out.
I just got a message on my phone from Nate. The Pokemon team found him at a cafe installing Ubuntu on his laptops.
That's why they doggy piled on him. He was breaking the OpenSUSE rule. Gosh dang it.
Sorry, Nate. Busted.
Very much busted. Now, doing all this fun stuff with a 3D printer and isn't all the fun that you've had. You got a new laptop. Now, is this a new laptop or a new to you laptop?
Oh no, this is a new laptop.
New laptop.
Right next to me on my other workstation is this beautiful, brand new Lenovo X1 Carbon. Now, why did I go with this? The problem when you travel for work frequently is that you quickly figure out that carrying around a big, heavy ZBook or a Lenovo Legion or a Lenovo P series or a big Dell workstation grade laptop is that it starts to weigh you down after a while. So I thought maybe I need something a little bit more portable and something a little bit more Linux friendly, because the issues that I've had with the ZBook running Linux have been many over the course of many years, which is why it really ran Windows. But the ZBook is going to a new home for someone who really likes Linux and understands how to integrate NVIDIA into Linux really well. So my X1 Carbon now runs all of my work stuff, mainly via web, but in a nice light form factor with a Thunderbolt 4 dock with 3 big screens. I can do everything that I need to do, including using VS Codium or my simple fish shell to create the scripts and the code that I need for the Home Assistant project to be successful. Because what's actually running all of that behind the scenes is Ansible for automation. So I'm in the process of configuring all the Ansible, which will push different commands and settings to the Home Assistant nodes that we have out in the world over a mesh VPN solution that's widely known. And I will tell you, absolutely love that laptop. So the cool part about the X1 Carbon for me is not only is that it's super light, but I was able to stuff it with a whole ton of hardware, including 64 gigs of RAM, a 2 terabyte NVMe, and the latest i7 and a 2K screen.
Nice.
It's got just enough connectors. So I've got 2 Thunderbolt connectors, HDMI, a couple basic USB ports, and that's perfectly enough. I had to give up the number pad. That was a tough thing to do, but most of the time the laptop is docked, and the few times that it's not, I'm actually grateful that I can carry it in one hand without worrying about dropping it.
Yeah. So what's your screen size on that one then?
So that has a 14.1 inch screen.
Okay.
Which I thought would be too small, but because of the 2K screen that it has inside of it and upscaling the resolution a bit, it's actually just right. So I can
pretty good then. That's good.
Quickly undock it. I can bring it to work. I can bring it downstairs in the shop. I can bring it home here to my office. I can bring it to the other side of the room where my server and network stuff is. And it's just nice, light, and portable, and the battery life is amazing. I get about 7 or 8 hours of battery life out of it. It's
Ooh.
just what I needed for a journey.
Heck yeah. So can you upgrade the RAM in this, or is it soldered to the board?
Everything is soldered to the board, which I'm not the biggest fan of, unfortunately. To me, that just screams e-waste at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
I also got a 5-year warranty on it so that I can get the most out of the system. If something breaks, it doesn't turn into a paperweight. And I tell all my customers this: if you are going to get an ultra portable laptop, make sure that you spec it out as high as you can afford so that you don't kick yourself in the backside 2 years later saying, now this is too slow for my current workloads.
Mm-hmm. And you can't do anything about it. Yeah, that's kind of the trade-off that you have between upgradability and portability. Is if you want the portability, a lot of it's just going to be soldered to the board. Where it is you're wanting the customability. I don't know, one of those words. English is difficult. Then you're going to have something that's thicker, chunkier, heavier all the way around.
So to your point, our dear friend Neil has the Framework 15.
Ooh.
Interesting laptop, but not light.
Yeah.
I love the modularity of it. I love the idea and the concept of it, but I'm not carrying around a 7+ pound laptop in my bag.
Yeah, that does get heavy really quickly as you're back and forth on the airplane and that kind of stuff. Are you still traveling that much, or is things kind of slowed down a little bit?
The traveling side of things has slowed down a bit for me. I've had some other obligations at home and at work this summer that have limited a bit of that. And while I miss seeing family and friends along those travels, it's nice to be home and enjoy time with my wife and my dogs and my cats and my friends. Be able to come
Yeah.
on the show here and
Mm-hmm.
hang out with you. That's definitely a highlight. And not having Nate and Matt here just makes it way easier. God.
Yeah, it
Sorry,
definitely
guys.
makes her.
By the time you listen to this, it'll be too late for you to yell at me.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, they'll always flip you crap on the back end. That's just kind of the fun of who we are and the friendships that we have. So you'll hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be a little bit before you do.
Oh, the best part about bringing that X1 Carbon to work has been showing off to my technicians wobbly windows and virtual workspace transitions with the cube, thanks to KDE Plasma 6.1.
Nice. Very, very nice. So you're running 6.1. I actually don't have 6.1 yet because Manjaro said that there was a bug going on with it. So they actually haven't pushed it down through the line on Manjaro. I'm pretty happy to play with it. As you know, I run an NVIDIA graphics card, and Wayland and NVIDIA don't necessarily get along, and 6.1 is supposed to fix that. Have you seen that as being a fix?
I don't touch NVIDIA cards with a 10-foot pole usually, so I haven't had any experience with it yet, but I have many friends. I have many friends in the Fedora community that actively work on the NVIDIA side of things with Wayland, and they said that the newer driver series with Plasma 6.1 has definitely solved a lot of problems. I'm very curious to see how you fare with Manjaro on that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to test it out. Last time I tried to run Wayland, DaVinci wouldn't launch, and DaVinci is the reason why I run NVIDIA right now. I'm hoping with the increased popularity of these AMD cards that they might try to work some of their stuff to work better with the AMD graphics cards. It's just not the case right now. You can get them to work, but if you're on Linux, like I'm running right now, you lose the ability to encode in H.264 and H.265. And I still struggle to decode MP4 files right now. So I can have the video and I can pull the audio out using Tenacity, but right now in DaVinci, I can't get both at the same time. I don't know. If I was on Windows, it would work. If I was on Mac, it would work. But right now, with what I've got going on, I haven't been able to get audio on MP4, even though I am running Studio. I do have the paid version of the application. I have high hopes. I have very high hopes. I would love to run an AMD graphics card on my system. You just get so much more bang for the buck. My daughter decided that she wanted to build a desktop. Yay! I'm so excited. And so we were kind of back and forth on what she was going to get. And I was like, well, to be honest, you can get way more graphics card as far as the built-in RAM and all of that stuff if you go AMD. And that's kind of what she's chose at the moment. So right now it's spec'd out with AMD GPU and AMD CPU. She's going to be using some college funds to get that. So we've got to do a rigmarole in order to get that money out in order to buy that school system. But it's pretty nice. I'm really, really jealous of the dream system that she has built right now inside of PC Part Picker. So I'll keep my hands off it. It is her system, but that doesn't mean that I'm not currently drooling over it at the moment.
I will tell you this, having built hundreds, if not thousands of custom rigs in the years that I've been doing them for scientific animation studios and CAD companies and healthcare facilities, the one component people always overlook or cheap out on is the power supply. Do not skimp out on the power supply, especially now where you're drawing. Yeah, especially where you're drawing so much power out of the GPU, so much power out of the CPU. The system that I'm on right now, the processor in it has a TDP or thermal dynamic power of 140 watts, which is really high for a CPU. Plus it has the AMD GPU in it. It actually kind of came in handy having a good power supply because about a month ago, lightning struck next to my house.
Ooh.
Scared me to death. I just saw a massive shower of sparks go off the side of my house right near where my electrical panel feeds in. And I thought, okay, well, that's the end. The house is on fire and everything in my house is cooked. And it's been a nice life, everybody. So I go out. Yeah, see you later. So I go outside. Nothing is on fire. Nothing seems scorched, but none of my equipment is online. What happened is the plug that is above this room here, kind of in the basement, has one of those GFI push button.
Oh, yeah.
That tripped. And after I got that online, I noticed that my UPS under the desk was blown, but the machine was still good. So
that's good.
I spent a lot of money in that power supply. I bought one of those Platinum Series ones, and I'm actually very glad I did.
Yeah, the one that I have in my system right now is a Platinum, and I bought it with more headroom than I needed because, as I was telling her when she was kind of speccing things out for her system, was you want to make sure that next time you do an upgrade, it's not, holy crap, I now have to upgrade this part too in order to keep the system functioning and running. So she's also picked out a Platinum. I think the one she has picked out is a fully modular 880 watt at the moment. I can't remember which brand she picked out, but there was a lot of them right there that all looked pretty good. So I kind of said, okay, at this point, go through any of these would be good. Go ahead and just pick the one that you like. And I don't know what to say, but my daughter has not taken after me. I think most of the parts that she's picked out have some sort of rainbow vomit on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your favorite.
Very much not my kid in that sense, though she does plan to make it monochrome in color scheme, which I think is going to look fantastic.
That sounds like a very interesting build, and I'm curious to see how it goes for her as she progresses down this path. This is going to be something that she can create herself. She's going to create the thing that she needs to create other things, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I'm going to have her build it. So I will give her guidance along the way, but I want her actually putting the parts together and putting the system together. So once we know what the final budget is going to look like for the device, then we'll go ahead and buy hardware and that kind of thing. So I don't want to give too much away at the moment because we're kind of in limbo land with that. But once we buy parts and start putting it together, I'll definitely be sharing the part list with you and pictures of the finished system. The case she has picked out is perfect for a Rainbow Bommet system.
What I would like to do is, and I'm going to offer this here now to you, is stream me in so that I can heckle her while she's building it and say, well, back in my day, we used jumpers for this. And I'll basically be the equivalent of Statler and Waldorf while she's trying to build it. I think if you have Nate and Matt and I all do it, all just kind of yelling at her all at the same time, it'll prove a couple of things. Number one, does she have patience? Number two, does she believe anything that anybody tells her? Because we're basically acting as the internet and everything on the internet is true, so they say. But number three, we'll get to watch her build a really cool system, and that would be a lot of fun. So
that sounds like fun. We might have to do some streaming of it. You're not the only one with additional hardware, though. This comes with storage, and you still don't have enough storage?
So not the storage that you might think. My computers have plenty of storage. My
lucky you.
Basement sort of had plenty of storage. But as we decline down the storage path, the network rack didn't have enough storage. Now that's hard to fathom. But yes, it's true. So I looked at the area that the network rack was in, and it's an 8U wall mount rack, plus the bench that had all the servers and stuff on it. And I said, it's a little hard to navigate. I'm going to have to do something about this as I pick up more network equipment to play around with. And it just so happened that at work, they wanted to install a whole new shelving system in the build room, which meant that the 2-post on wheels StarTech 42U floor to ceiling rack needed a home. How sad.
Oh, no.
So that found its way into the other side of that wall in the back of my pickup truck. And I spent a good chunk of the weekend kind of what I would call dry fitting or roughing in exactly where I want the shelves to go and where I want my NAS units to go, where I want switches to go and firewalls to go and patch panels to go.
Yeah.
I will say this is not designed for servers. Do not attempt to put a server in a 2-post rack like that. You may break the rack or the server. I don't suggest it. What I did do is I have 4 Lenovo Tiny workstations, and those I'm able to put on shelves, and I'm going to use those to try to teach myself a little bit of OpenShift or SUSE Harvester and continue down that Kubernetes journey a little bit. I'm going to take my Raspberry Pis out and I'll put them in a little 1U mount. I'm going to stick that in there. And I've got wire organizers, and this is going to be kind of my way to make it look all nice and clean and neat, and not the jumbled mess of cables and lost parts and dropped zip tie holders that were underneath the bench, because I'm getting too old to crawl underneath that all the time to, find where I dropped that little standoff. So this is going to make my life easier. And the fact that it's all on wheels means that I can pull it forward. I can spin it 90 degrees. And I've left enough slack in all of my network cables and power cables to ensure that I'm not going to pull anything out of a wall or disconnect anything in the process.
Nice. Is some of this stuff going to end up being content for Sudo Show?
Possibly. It's going to set up the framework for us to be able to create that kind of lab content that we really like. I'd really like to be able to show people how to do things or have them come on a journey with me. Watch Bill as he flounders in OpenShift world. And if I'm feeling very spicy, I might live stream it, and you can all watch me in using some adult language and enjoying adult beverages while trying to teach myself some of this.
I'm definitely that kind of learner where I would so much rather watch someone do it, being able to see what they're typing on the screen and do it along with them. I don't pick up stuff very good just from reading it. I just don't.
What I like about my 2 co-hosts so much is how smart they are. And what they like about me is I represent the everyman. And what I hope to accomplish as a content creator someday is relatability. I want
Yeah.
that sysadmin to say, you know what, I've been there and I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit I don't know X, Y, or Z, but I'm going to let Bill fall on his face on my behalf and laugh at him along the way, but I'll learn something. And that's the kind of style that I want to use with this and say, well, that didn't really quite work out the way I wanted. We're going to have to give that another try. Almost like the Julia Child method of teaching people how to cook.
Yes, yes. Well, that's the way we do robotics too. I tell the kids, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but let's go learn.
Those are the moments that matter the most, I think, when you're learning any skill. And I think what you're doing is you're teaching your students a sense of confidence and self-respect that they can reach out for help when they need it.
Yeah.
They can accept that help. And in turn, in the open source fashion, they can then provide that help to others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it helps keep that love of learning alive if we as adults, mentors or whatnot are able to say, you know what? I don't know either. And it's okay that I don't know, but I'm definitely willing to go do the research to figure it out.
It shows that you're human.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Very much so. I have plenty of faults.
So, Wendy, I see something new behind you there. Oh, what do we have there? Apparently, I'm not the only one with a laptop to talk about here.
Right. You're not the only one to talk about a laptop. So, as you know, I've been kind of back and forth about the fact that I needed a mobile workstation for editing. And robotics season has kind of picked up. And with that, also has my stress levels. I'm trying to figure out how I can do it all. And right now, there's a lot of stuff that comes in at the end of the week when we're at homeschool co-op, robotics, that kind of stuff, just crazy things going on. And I've finally said, okay, it's time to get a workstation. And this thing over here is the opposite of what you bought. And it's not that it isn't fully spec'd out, but it's heavy. So here it is. This monster.
I'm more impressed by the forearm muscles that you have in order to lift such a beast like this.
So this is a Dell 7750. It has a 17.3-inch screen that is 4K, by the way. With a 1 terabyte SSD M.2, a i9 1088 Yes, that is a mouthful. 64 gigs of RAM, which it is upgradable because this sucker is thick. She's a BC. And it has one of the workstation graphics cards. So this is NVIDIA Quattro RTX 5000. Yes, that's also a mouthful. And it comes with 16 gigs of VRAM. So one of the biggest things that is exciting and a disappointment is this has double the RAM of my current desktop and double the VRAM of my current graphic card that's in it. So we'll see how it compares. Now, granted, this one is only pushing one 4K screen, and my poor little NVIDIA 3070 Ti that I've got in there right now is pushing 4K screens. So I do have it stressed a little bit. One of the things that I would love to get for this is some portable monitors. I found some that are exactly the same size. I'm probably going to go with 2K portable monitors just for the price right now. Getting one to start out with be great because I do run DaVinci on 2 monitors. I just like the layout. It's easier to use. This does have 2 Thunderbolt ports. It has 1 HDMI port, plus you can still hardwire it, all of that fun stuff. The upgradability, and it is awesome. And it's heavy. It's absolutely heavy. So it barely fits in my backpack. I don't carry a purse. I carry a backpack, and it just barely fits in there. It's going to be heavy. The power adapter for this is quite chunky, which, I mean, it has to be. There's a lot going on inside of this system. So it is meant to be a workstation. And at this point, while light and portability, I've had niceties with that, with the Windows Surface devices. It just doesn't have enough oomph and the drive and the power that I need in order to do that video editing stuff that I'm doing so much of. So this can do all of that. It should be a fully portable mobile workstation. Heck, I might even pick up a Pelican case to pack this dang thing in with the portable screens. It may not actually go in the backpack.
What I think you should do with it is take it camping with you. And the reason why is that while you're editing video and rendering video, you can flip the laptop over. You can put a skillet on top of it, and then you can cook because of the amount of heat that thing is going to generate.
Yes. I already noticed that it was a little bit warm when I had it fired up. So it came with Windows 11 Pro. I fired it up, made sure that, everything worked because this is a used model. This one came out, I think, Q1 of 2020. It is 4 years old, but I did get it for like a killer price, absolutely killer price. And because it is 4 years old, it is a mobile workstation. I figured it's definitely time to have it the rethermal pasted again. So that's one of the first things that I'm going to be doing with it. It's already running Manjaro with Plasma on it and DaVinci launches. All of that right now is working. That's the first thing I did. Like I was checking UPS to see where they were every 5 minutes while editing Sudo Show because I'm like, how close are they? Oh, how close are they? I did have to sign for it. So that was another reason. But even though I live in the country, I don't want something like that sitting out on the porch. But as soon as it showed up, I'm sorry I dropped your other show and went to playing with that, getting Linux and everything running on it.
Well, just for that, I got this text message from Matt here, and it says, make sure to bring up a game pick and a Steam Deck. That will make Wendy's day. Okay. All right. So
game picks can definitely make my day. Steam Deck, I don't know about that.
Well, it says specifically Steam Deck, and considering that I have a Steam Deck, this one's quite easy. So I'm going to go with one of the most mind-numbing games that I've ever played called Brotato. Now,
Brotato?
Brotato. So Brotato is available on Steam, and you are basically a potato that can take on different power-ups, and you basically have to avoid bad guys and collect power-ups and unlock more weapons, tools, and other potatoes. The reason why I like this game so much is because for a simpleton like me, the only thing that I need to do in this game to function is use the left thumbstick.
Oh,
That's
I like that.
You literally just go around a small map and avoid bad guys and collect power-ups along the way. It is very simplistic. It is a complete time sink. And it is one of the best ways that I find to unplug from work. So you're welcome, Matt. I didn't forget you.
Like fun.
And I did not forget about the Steam Deck. I checked both boxes off from your text message. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, top-down typically aren't my kind of game, but if all I've got to do is run around, then I am cool with that. I might actually be able to play this one.
So here's one for you, Matt. I got Wendy to pick one of my games that works on a Steam Deck.
Yes, that doesn't mean I'm playing it on a Steam Deck.
I would take my mic and drop it, but that would end the show a little too prematurely. So I have been collecting laptops, Wendy. The project that you and I worked together on a couple of years ago now has inspired me to try to help out other communities and other educators with laptops. And I was just able to send out a nice HP Pro book to a friend of mine who's an educator in Guatemala whose laptop died unexpectedly. So I'm hoping maybe someday I retire with enough money to be able to do this as a nonprofit for people that are advancing education with open source. So thank you for kind of being that inspiration for me to kick off this little project I do on the side now.
Yay, I love it. And those laptops that I got from you are still being used. They're still helping with robotics functions and the like. So I'm super thrilled that you are able to help other people in the same instances where they need a laptop and just helping kids get their hands on technology. That's so awesome. Now it's your turn to toss in your 2 cents on today's topics. Hit the discourse forum, drop us a line under this video, or the contact form by visiting tuxdigital.com/contact. If you'd like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, see the links at the bottom of the show description. Find other great shows like Sudo's show, where you can find Bill, Neil, and Brandon. Awesome show. I highly recommend it. I have fun editing it. You can also check out Destination Linux, which I will be on the upcoming episode of. So make sure you check that one out too. And Linux Saloon, Nate isn't here to plug it, but also a fun one where the community gets together and chat. Plus more at tuxdigital.com. Show off your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. Grab yourself some awesome swag like the Gamer Centric I paused my game to be here, which Matt did not. I'm sure he's very busy playing all kinds of video games, maybe even Brotato. Or you can join hashtag Team Wendy with some Sinister Wendy swag. Not evil, but I do like to get even. As always, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it.